Hello and welcome to another edition of Unfulfilled. I'm your host, Luke Plain, and today I'm joined by Sam at BigCommerce. Sam is their partner growth manager at BigCommerce. They are the leading open SaaS platform that empowers merchants of all sizes to build, innovate, and grow their online business. Sam's going to take us through his role in more detail at BigCommerce. We're also going to delve into Sam's dark past of recruitment and why he loves what he's currently doing within the e-com world. For people who don't know, I'm going to let Sam go through the power of BigCommerce and how partners work alongside the business. So without further ado, Sam, tell people a bit more about yourself, please, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, thank you for having me on Unfulfilled. Very excited to be here. Just to give you everyone a bit of an introduction into myself, I've been at BigCommerce now for about a year and a half, working in our partner team, specifically in the role of partner growth. And what that means is I work with partners in the UK, in the Benelux region, and also in the Nordic region to really further their opportunities with BigCommerce, working with us in a bit more of a consistent basis and taking agency partners and really making them as successful as possible by working with them as closely as possible as well. For those that don't know BigCommerce, we're an open SaaS solution that enables growth for partners and merchants of all stages of their e-commerce journey. We like to say that we are enterprise e-commerce simplified by giving open capabilities to both the merchants that work with us and also the agencies that do the development and work alongside these merchants, but also offer the control and the security of SaaS by combining the two to create an open SaaS platform for these kinds of merchants. So that's kind of where BigCommerce is sitting from an e-commerce platform perspective. We work with the likes of Harvey Nichols, Skullcandy, among a number of others across the globe, and are really growing our presence across the European region as well. So it's a super exciting company to be at, and it's a super exciting role to be a part of as well. There's already been a lot of growth in the role in the last year and a half for me in working in various different regions. So super excited to continue on with that and obviously dive into a bit more detail with you, Luke.
Amazing. I mean, I guess based on how well you've delivered that, you've said that once or twice over the last 18 months.
Yeah, it's a well-rehearsed script that I've got to the right-hand side. No, I'm joking.
It's memorised nowadays, isn't it?
Always, mate.
And in terms of your background then, so you've been there for 18 months. What was the life before BigCommerce for you, Sam?
Yeah, good question. I think, as you mentioned, there has been a dark past to me in the recruitment space. I was in recruitment straight out of university for about nearly 2 years, actually. I was working in life sciences recruitment, specifically within bioinformatics. So did a lot of global conversations with some big brands, but also with some smaller startups in the informatics space, both across America, in Germany, in Switzerland, and also in the UK as well, and absolutely loved it. But I wasn't the best of recruiters in the world. And colleagues who will see this podcast come out will attest to that from when I used to work there. And I think that's a fair comment. But I took away from that and the parts of recruitment that I loved, which was the human interaction and the little bit of selling that I used to be able to do with the retainers model that we used to work out at the recruitment company where I worked. I kind of took those tools and moved back into always wanting to go into sales, and happened to find myself at a PPC company, a PPC software even called Marin Software, and started off my journey into SDRing there. And that was my first little piece of e-commerce experience that I started to get into, and I really enjoyed how e-commerce companies worked and how e-commerce companies had such wide spreads of various different areas within their business, from the operations, from the sales, from the marketing, all of that kind of stuff. Moved on to a search and merch company called Finder Logic that was acquired by Nosto in January of 2023, and started again doing SDRing there, and obviously got into e-commerce companies a lot more when it was talking into that, and specifically e-commerce companies that were working with platforms like BigCommerce and some of its competitors like Shopify and Magento. And that area of it got me into working with those platforms more, but also working a little bit more with the partnerships. It would be wrong of me not to shout out Brian Craden, who was the partnership manager at Finder Logic and now at Nosto, who was very, very kind enough to bring me into some of those partnership conversations. And that's what got me working with BigCommerce more, working with a couple of others. And then naturally, I saw all of the exciting things that Brian was doing and thought, I think I could get involved with those kinds of stuff as well. And from that, I started having the conversations with BigCommerce, and that's kind of where it leads us to now in terms of moving from sales development roles and direct sales into partnerships, really. So that's the journey from here to now, I suppose.
Wow, that's been was that always the plan in terms of like, was it always wanting to get into e-commerce, or was it always like marketing after recruitment? Not because that sounds like you've almost had this like goal in terms of wanting to be where you are now. Like, I know it doesn't always end up that way, but is that sort of what happened with you, or?
Yeah, great question. No. I always thought to myself, and even before I went into recruitment, my uncle, I'm very close to my uncle, and he had a really successful sales job in finance software. And it was always like, yeah, he's doing some really cool things, doing pitches. And I always thought, I'll go into a sales role, I'll become a account executive, I'll move into those, and that'll be the directory for me. And I always knew that the two things that I wanted, which I wanted, was human interaction and relationship building, but also selling to people as well. And when I was looking at jobs at the end of towards the end of uni, I noticed recruitment jobs, and they were the two key things that were standing out to me. And naturally, without even realizing it, I realized that I wanted to go into recruitment that way. And then I thought to myself, well, I'll build up a recruitment practice, all of this kind of stuff. Like, that'll be my trajectory now. That's fine.
Yeah.
Realized that that wasn't the case. And then I was like, well, I'll go back into the sales idea that I always wanted to do. And then I'll be an AE, then I'll director of sales, all of that kind of stuff. Then I heard about partnerships. I was like, oh, actually, that would be a really fun role for me. I think now that's kind of came in of like, I'm taking loads of different areas of sales as a discipline and building on the various different values of that. I think that's kind of through no real desire or reasoning of my own.
Yeah.
I've stepped into that a lot more, but that's the best way to get into things, right? Like you let yourself be part of the situation and adapt to what you feel is the best thing that you want to do at the time. And I feel like that's what I've done over the last couple of years. And I feel like I've done all right from it.
Yeah, definitely. And they always say, no, like in your 20s, that's where you should like just have a lot of fun almost and try those different things. And 30s, you'll sort your life out from there, I guess. But it sounds like you've you're not seeing your 20s, are you, Sam?
Might be.
Oh God, that makes me feel so old. I mean, I look terrible on camera, but geez. Anyway, oh God, yeah. I mean, you look good. I mean, maybe I need to try to clean shave. I know we're recording this in November, but this will probably go out early 24. But yeah, Sam's got his clean shaven face for November, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you won't see me like this any other time. I feel like I need to go back in and maybe like draw some beard on me, what I'm used to, but refer to my LinkedIn photo for the exact image. But yeah, Movember, if anyone ever does it, it's an amazing course to do, and it's something that you can donate to all throughout the year and contribute to. You'll see if anyone's interested in Soccer Saturday, they're always wearing the little prostate cancer pins, which is really important. A couple of my mates are really, really close with it, with parents that have passed away, unfortunately, through the disease of prostate cancer. But it's also all around men's mental health as well, which is so important to talk about these days. And it's always nice, no matter the time of year.
No, agreed. Well said, Sam. So let's talk about your role then within BigCommerce, if that's okay. So I know you've talked about what BigCom is all about and sort of where it positions itself, but as a partner growth manager, what does that mean to like merchants, retailers looking to come on board?
Yeah, great question. I think that what it means from a BigCommerce perspective is that when merchants and retailers out there are potentially looking for their re-platform opportunities, digital marketing services, anything relating to improving their business and getting the fundamentals or going through digital transformation, there are teams out there within not just BigCommerce, but in the entire technology ecosystem that are dedicated to finding the right partners for the merchants that we work with. And we've got an ecosystem of thousands of partners from an agency perspective. My role is specifically focusing on our marketing agencies and our system integrators and developers. We've got tons and tons of various agencies out there that are perfect fits for merchants of certain sizes, of certain industries, of certain desires, locations, whatever it may be. And it's our role to, and mine specifically, to maintain the relationships that we have with those agencies to ensure that, one, they are as equipped to serve our merchants on the platform as possible, and then two, to be able to provide the best experiences for those merchants as well, whether it is, like I say, in the full re-platform scope, or whether it is just a bit of a PPC campaign that those merchants want to do. And the role really is to ensure that we're recommending the right agencies, and also striving on explaining the importance of those agencies to merchants. I think a lot of merchants out there can think, I can just do that myself. I've got a marketing team that is purely focused on generating and spending our marketing budgets, which is amazing, but agencies can complement and support merchants in a way that themselves just haven't got the abilities to do. And the opportunity for merchants to work alongside agencies is just limitless when it comes to those kinds of things. And that's kind of where our roles come in terms of the education element and ensuring that we're recommending the right agencies to our merchants and standing by our merchants in terms of ensuring that we've built up a really exciting ecosystem for people to be able to tap into.
Nice. And in terms of the agencies, then you referred to there, how like, are they almost? I don't know the best way of wording this really, but are they almost like scored in terms of like to make sure that they're keeping up to the standards that BigCommerce set for themselves? Are the agencies that have got almost like a food rating, right? Are they like they've got to be kept 5-star unless they're going to be dropped? Is that how it works? So it's not that harsh?
Yeah. I suppose it's a bit more intricate into that in terms of we don't have a set scoring system that if an agency scores below list, they're not allowed to work with us anymore. But what I would say is that for a big commerce element of things, we're very partner centric and also human centric in how we run those kinds of partnerships. So we're talking with our teams internally that are working with our merchants through our customer success managers, through implementation project managers whose sole focus is to work with the merchant during their builds on BigCommerce, and then just general everyday day-to-day communications from the customer success managers, but also kind of the feel of how people are working with BigCommerce. They're the biggest kind of reasonings that we take into account when we think about working with our agency partners. They are the ones that, they were amazing to work with. They were real advocates for the merchant in ensuring that they got the best possible results. Or obviously, alternatively, when agencies aren't quite up to the mark in supporting certain things, we can call that out and have those discussions. And I think that the key thing for us is that we have those discussions openly with the agencies that we work with, and the agencies do with us as well. They're very much the merchant advocate in certain situations when the merchant hasn't got exactly what they were hoping for. They can work with us to be the advocate to be able to change all of those things, and it's those things that we measure our agencies on. Yes, we have numbers attached to when an agency is really well performing in terms of supporting BigCommerce in closing business and also generating and working with us in a better way through awards that we do for certain types of builds. We have 3 different tiers of agencies within the ecosystem. You can be a standard BigCommerce agency partner, but you can also be a preferred partner once you've built enough business with us in terms of the projects that you have developed on the platform. And then the final tier is elite partnership, where agencies have built a number of projects with us, but also have invested in terms of having specialist big dev certified BigCommerce developers within their agency, have submitted for awards specifically, but also is something that we really don't give out to everyone, it's contributions like talking to customer success that qualify agencies for those elite tiers. And there's a very select amount of agencies across Europe that actually have that privilege of being able to be called themselves an elite partner. And there's a reason for that as well. So I
Yeah.
think we're very precious on that side of things, of ensuring that the right partners are getting the right praise at the right time.
Amazing. What an answer, by the way, Sam.
I'll try my best.
And talking about like ecom specifically then, because something that I've loved since being in it is just like you mentioned before we hit record, like I talked about putting Unfulfilled out there. Was anyone up for jumping on the podcast? And the response back was like incredible. So from like your point of view, how have you found like ecom as a sector in terms of like being in it, especially in your current role?
Yeah, I think it's something in my role that is so important, like the networking element of things. And like you say, you sent a message out to a popular, the reason why we met, right, through the Ecom Collab Club, which I think probably is getting a mention on podcasts that you go on all the time. There is stuff like that out there that I didn't realize when I came into this industry. People are so open to have a conversation about pretty much anything. And whether it's e-commerce related, whether it's football, whether it's mental health, whatever it may be, it's such a welcoming market and industry to be a part of. And I think it's an industry where everyone sees the challenges sometimes, whether it's a recession, whether it's the wars that are going on, whatever it may be. And it's talking about those challenges openly and understanding that we're not alone, but then also celebrating the wins, like celebrating with awards, like we mentioned, from a BigCommerce perspective or from an ecom collab, or just general things that can be going on in the market. Everyone is so celebratory of everyone's success, even when it comes to direct competitors as well, which I think is so cool to know. Like, agencies that I work with are open in terms of when they're in deals together, but also like when one wins over the other, they'll compare notes of what they did, of making sure that everyone is better going forward and delivering, obviously, ultimately for the merchants that they work with as well. But coming into this market, especially from a partnerships perspective, I had a little bit of a feel for it when I was an SDR, but I wasn't fully involved. Like, I was almost jealous, to be honest. I was looking at it from afar thinking, wow, it'd be so nice to know these people. And now that I'm in kind of the circles of those people and everyone's so open and chatty and all of that kind of stuff, it's such a great thing to be a part of. And
Yeah.
super exciting to watch it grow and see new people come in and everyone be welcomed with open arms, kind of thing. That's the best bit about working in this industry, for sure.
Agreed. Can you imagine two recruiters sitting in a room, two rival recruitment companies sitting in a room talking about like deals they've won, or it just wouldn't happen with it?
Never in a million years would you take two kind of in an industry. And it's actually something that I look back on and kind of think that would be so beneficial to an industry like that. I think it's, to put it mildly, recruitment can sometimes be a bit of a word that people, like a swear word almost for certain, especially third-party recruiters in terms of coming in. I think a lot of agencies, especially in the e-commerce industry, when I think about it, and then even back in the day when I used to work in the industry, like, you were scared of making that commitment. And to have that openness opportunity, I think, is something that other industries, not just recruitment, but wider, could learn from so much in being successful. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm nodding along. Absolutely. Because like for me, seeing the power of the partnerships and the collaboration within not just Ecom Collab Club, although that is sort of where I guess have started this business from, like in terms of like just jump myself in day one. Like our release, my first day was the end of, was it sort of the July Ecom Collab Club, I think it was, and that's my first day of release. And I walked in there, and all I got told by Adam and Pete was basically, don't sell. Don't be a dick and don't sell. I was like, sweet. Like I think I tick the don't be a dick box pretty well in terms of Well, so. Some people might say differently.
Joking. Definitely not true.
But I don't sell bit like it's so true because like it's from as you say that in your especially in your world, like all I'm trying to do is partner with people and build them relationships and understand sort of their pain points and all that sort of stuff, and but also understand like them as a person in that business, so that if and when that call comes to like we need to find someone, I've had conversations for a year, 18 months of learning about that business, learning about culture, learning about the wins they've had, the shit times they've had, all that stuff. And you can, when you talk to a candidate, as you know, if you can give them more information than just, I'm recruiting for a job, and don't tell them where it's working, or don't tell them the salary banding, or don't tell them the benefits or anything, like, it's just such a poor way of doing things. So, like, it's been, yeah, I know you know this in terms of preaching to the choir as such, this, but
Give me flashbacks.
you have nightmares tonight.
Oh yeah. No, I had some great experiences back there, but I think that it just hits the nail on the head so much, not just from a recruitment, not just from an e-commerce perspective, but people need to trust people first before even considering any kind of commercial conversation with them. I think trust is something that in previous years was important, but people were willing to take a bit of a risk because they've got the money to lose or they are bored in their job, let's say, from a recruitment perspective. I think that now people are taking so much more time to make a decision, and that is because they want to trust the people that they're making the decision with first. And I think that that applies to any new partnerships in terms of agencies looking to bring on a new platform, any new merchant that's looking to re-platform their business, which is a huge decision, and anyone who's looking to change a job, which is an even bigger decision. Like, those are the kinds of things that the trust element, while it was an initial thought that they were maybe in the past going, yeah, that's okay, now is the number one factor, I would say, if you ask anyone why they would buy from someone. Oh, I trust them. I trust that they're going to come
Yep.
to the word. I think that's the biggest area that everyone needs to take note of in terms of growing and being as successful as possible.
Yeah, agreed, 100%, mate.
Yeah.
Um, Going back to like since you've been involved with BigCommerce, like what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges since you've been involved in the business? We talked about now about how great it's been and all the positives and stuff, but there must have been some challenges along the way.
Yeah, great question. And I think there's a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. I think for me personally, I was doing a new thing. I'd never done partnerships before. I was scared to come into it and kind of what impact I was going to make, how people would view me within the market, within the partners that I work with, because I was working with successful people that knew what they were doing. And I was the one coming in as the kind of new kid on the block kind of element of, oh, I don't know as much as you, but tell me about your business kind of stuff. And I think that
Yeah.
was scary to start. And that was definitely a challenge that I took time to understand that it wasn't as scary as it was thinking in my brain of looking like kind of thing. Um, and the partners were so welcoming, as we've just talked about, in terms of bringing me in and teaching me and kind of giving me the opportunity to learn and also mess up in certain scenarios over the last year and a half. Like, I've missed certain things that people will be happy to tell you about whenever you ask. And I think that's the big thing that's been the biggest challenge for me to understand and accept, but also um, has been a great benefit in terms of being working in the company. And then just in general, over the last year or so, the biggest challenge has just been supporting partners winning business, but supporting partners on the market conditions that we've had. I think that everyone across the board is struggling right now and is competing with a lot of different things. And I think it's understanding and managing the fact that we're not going to win everything, but also it's going to take time to do things. And there's been a lot of changes with various things that are going on both externally and internally, of things that affect how we work with our partners. And I think adapting to those changes has definitely been a challenge. And it's been a year it's been a year unlike no other year that we've experienced. Kind of, even when we look back on 2020, 2021, those were interesting and crazy years, but there was ups and downs with that. I think that the thing that we experienced in 2023 is that everyone has that expectation that it was just going to go up and up and up, and there'd be a very consistent workflow of opportunities and business. But it's just been so stagnated through the external factors that we see in the UK and Europe and across the globe, that kind of that creates its own challenge for absolutely everyone, that everyone's been exposed to, which is huge. And I think for me, I've always spent my time in the UK developing UK relationships. I've had access and opportunities now through BigCommerce to work on a European level and spend a lot of time over in the Benelux region, over in Nordics, which is what I thought was going to be a completely different ballgame for me, and I had to adapt how I work. But again, the partners are so welcoming over there and so amazing to work with that it's given me a bit of a challenge to be able to adapt, but it wasn't as big a challenge as I originally thought it was going to be, which is a real breath of fresh air for me, and nice to feel. But there's always going to be those challenges coming in, I think, and it always pops up every day, right, from those kinds of stuff.
It does. And go back to your first point in what you just made there around just holding your hands up and say, like, I'm the new kid in the block here. Can you just give me an overview? Like, again, seeing it from every walk of life. Like, if you walk into a room and you don't try and BS your way through a conversation, and you're up front with, look, I know this really well, but I don't know like this and this, like, you're the expert. Can you just give me that intel? And people, I think, like, completely like building trust, talk about partner, all that sort of stuff, like just being upfront and honest with like what you know you're good at and the areas you need developing in. It's quite a big thing, isn't it? In terms of actually being able to know, okay, like, I'm great at like the human aspect. I love building relationships, this sort of stuff, but actually I don't know a lot about this. Like, how can you, and just having that honest, transparent conversation from day dot will make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy for anyone in any walks of life to play to their strengths. And that's the area that I think we're all very good at most of the time, but accepting, like you say, that there are gaps, and accepting that it's scary to go into new situations, like, that is such a normal human behavior for anyone. Like, you
Yeah,
shouldn't feel wrong by going into a new situation and being worried or scared or unsure about going into it. They're kind of natural things. Like, you should be worried if you're not feeling those kinds of stuff, because you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. And
yeah,
and building on that and leaning into that and accepting it and asking for advice. That's how I've learned the most in the last however many years that I've been doing any kind of job that I've been doing. I think that's the bit that is gonna set up for the most success that you can do going forward.
agreed. Going to BigCom now, in terms of the background of the business, like, how has it been able to build the reputation that it does now? Because again, like, full transparency, I didn't realize how, when someone says they're a big commerce partner, like how much of a big deal that is for someone to be able to like openly say that. And like, it's, so yeah, tell me that in terms of reputation, like, why is it such a big deal for someone to be a BigCom partner?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head to start with there, in the case of, it's not just something that anyone can come in and be successful or get our attention to be able to work with and develop on the BigCommerce platform. I think that's something that we're very proud of, in that the partners that we work with are the best partners that we want for the best situations, and all of them are absolutely amazing to work with. To take a step back on the reputation side of things, not a lot of people know that BigCommerce was founded in Sydney, Australia back in the day, and it was actually founded in 2008 and was kind of started off in the region over there and kind of developed itself up. And the founders over there realized that we can make a big impact with what we're trying to build, but we need a bigger audience to be able to develop that impact. So they moved over, and the HQ was created in Austin, in the USA. And since then, we've kind of exploded in terms of how we develop, and really kind of set our values in how we want to develop the product and bring in more things into the product and maximize the value of the SaaS background that we've got and the infrastructure that we've got there, but also build on the openness of the platform and allow people to do really interesting and intricate things with it. I think they're the two core pillars to developing how the product wants to be developed. And they're the two things that kind of, you look at the market up until that point, you really had to do one or the other. You were either open source and you could do whatever you want, but you had the risks there of managing it all yourself, or you went down the SaaS route and you were kind of in the box of SaaS and you keep in the box of SaaS and you do those kinds of things. We want to take the two together, and how we've built the product and developed it and how merchants really enjoy working with us is because we are the open SaaS platform of taking the two together and putting it out there to the market and trying to kind of take the best bits of both and package that up as a really amazing solution. And I think that, especially when we came into the UK in 2018, that was the bit that resonated the most with the partners that we worked with initially, that they could do all of those things that they were originally doing open source, but they were scared to do on SaaS. Not scared, but maybe couldn't do on SaaS, and gave them that opportunity for the security of the SaaS model with the openness. I think that's the reputation that we've built from that, and we've won some great clients along the way that help further that, through Harvey Nicks, through Ted Baker over the past couple of years, and Tottenham Hotspur. As much as an Arsenal fan I hate to mention them, they have got a pretty good club shop online, annoyingly, that was built from start to finish from one of our amazing agency partners. And that is the reputation that we built. We want to build proper projects that take time to develop, but not too much time, and don't cost a ridiculous amount to develop as well, both from an agency cost perspective and from our licensing cost perspective as well. And I think that there's a number of success stories that we can point to that help further that reputation and get other partners interested to be like, I want to be part of this gang to be able to push forward and be as successful as possible, really.
And going back from 2008 to going to the US to then 2018 here, what's the sort of size of BigCom now? Like, what are we talking in terms of employee size, in terms of like the amount of like merchants on the platform itself? Do you know those sort of numbers? Like, where are we at, like scary numbers now where it's like,
Yeah, I think we're into scary number territory and getting bigger by the day. We're at well over 1,000 employees now across the globe. We've got three main headquarters. Obviously, the Austin headquarters. We also have our London HQ, where I'm in today, which we actually just moved to Liverpool Street for that, which is absolutely awesome. And then we also have still maintain a HQ in Australia, in Sydney, where we've got a number of partner managers, sales, customer success, technical and support engineers there as well. We're also developing something really exciting that we've been doing over the last year or so, is that we've been developing our local support based out of Cork and Ireland. So European merchants can have access to 24-hour, 7 days a week support through Cork Island. And then obviously outside of those hours, the US takes over. And then there's also an element of the Australian team stepping in when the two, for some reason, aren't aligning on time zones and all of that kind of stuff. So we've been developing that as a focus as well. And then we're at something like over 60,000 merchants now across the globe. And I think that's growing significantly. And I think, especially in EMEA, where we've grown into the thousands from 2018 onwards, it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. And I think the types of merchants that we're working with now is really, really exciting as well, in terms of working with big brands like we mentioned already on the podcast, but growing that and getting familiar names that everyone knows and loves onto the platform is super, super exciting.
how has BigCommerce handled challenges within the industry? Because I mean, there must be a number of businesses that have been set up since BigCom was sort of founded and are trying to eat away at how well they've done. Like, how have you kept ahead of that? Let's say, is it down to the partnerships that you're driving with your agencies? Do you think, like, what is it that's kept, almost you and them at arm's length? Do you think?
It's a very good question. I think that there's a lot of competition out there, and there's enough to go around in the e-commerce industry. And I think that a big call out of this is that not every platform is right for every merchant, and there are certain intricacies within the platforms that make sense for each one, which is why everyone's so successful, when there are certain platforms that we all know have their niches and stick to, and it's really good to have. How BigCommerce, I think, retains our clients in the best possible way. One is absolutely through the partnerships that we have, in terms of our agencies aren't just building the project, handing over the keys to the merchant and saying, good luck, see you later. They are very much hands-on, both in the implementation process, but also in the future success of the merchant, to really generate a long-standing relationship with the merchants that we work with. I think our average life cycle of a enterprise merchant on BigCommerce is something like 8 years at the moment. And considering the merchants that we've signed when we've been in the market in Europe from 2018 onwards, it means that our retention rates are pretty good when it comes to especially the European merchants that we've signed. The additional points of why I think that is so amazing is through our own dedication in the sales process, but also in the post-launch and post-sale process as well, through the initial sales executives and solutions engineers that are on the call. I've heard so many sales calls in the office, and we do not promise the world in any way, shape, or form. If we can't do something on the platform that a merchant wants, we will say that we can't do it, and we will offer up the workarounds and work with the agencies to be able to understand what we need to do to be able to ensure that we can get the best out of the merchant. And I think that that's so important to the longevity of a client in the end, in terms of selling what we can do and pushing that forward. And then moving on from that, having an implementation project manager who's at the heart of the build with the merchant and the agency sets up for success when they go live, and then it's transferred over to a customer success manager. We've got a massive community of customer success managers that manage a number of our enterprise merchants, and then from a certain tier and above, we've got named customer success managers, and I think that they are a massive factor that allows us to have the best success on the merchants that we're working with moving forward. And then obviously the product speaks for itself when the merchants are doing well. And I think that with the agency, with the people internally, and with the merchants offering themselves up for success, the product helps itself out by being able to push that forward from that side of things.
Amazing. I think what I've heard through all that is just how customer centric the business is as well, right? In terms of that whole process you've mentioned, it's like, if we can't do it, we'll find a way of doing it, or we'll be upfront with it. And then that whole process of, once that sale is going through, then the PM, then the customer success, like it's no surprise, I guess, of the success within the business, because it's like almost every step is so meticulously planned. And I guess like the individuals have got to have like that certain ability, right, in terms of making the technical simple for people who don't understand it, and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the biggest thing. The things that I just remember now, in terms of like replatforming for anyone, is a very big decision, and something that has to have that significant preparation for it. And I think that we understand that and are available and support it in the right way, and make sure that, yes, BigCommerce is probably going to be the right partner for you to do that replatform with, but are you ready as a merchant for that replatforming as well? And I think that's something that we work through really well with the merchants that we work with. And I think the best use case to show how customer centric we are is from our former general manager. I always remember when certain things would go live, he would come on to the team chat or send an email to the merchant, say, oh, amazing that it's gone live. I've just purchased so-and-so. And I've just gone on, and he used the experience, and he actually purchases on the sites. And I remember some of the big projects over in the States that our CEO is a big wine fanatic and a big cyclist. And I remember there was a certain cycling equipment brand that went live in the US. I remember saying, oh, I've just purchased so-and-so, can't wait to try it out. And I think that just shows how customer centric we are, in terms of, not the phrase put your money where your mouth is, but they generally want to see the customers be successful and buy off the websites. And I think that that's such a cool thing to be able to have when we're speaking to the merchants and being able to showcase that.
Yeah. And it goes back to just that partnership collaboration piece, isn't it? And actually really caring about your customers. And like, again, like I know we've sort of talked about recruitment a little bit in all this, and but like that's so important. Like for me, like when I'm working with a client or a business, I've got to see that they are actually, the employer is actually a good employer, is actually going to look after that people basically, and it's not going to be like a hire and fire, or it's not going to be like a real, like benefits to me are so important. Probably even, that's why like when we're looking to hire, like we're going to do like almost, we're open book in terms of what do you want, we'll just go and get it. Like let's just do things different. And I've had clients who say like their 28 days included bank holidays is the benefit, and you're like, no, you're also offering the bare minimum. And I guess like you can translate all this into a lot of different industries, and I'm doing this a lot during these conversations. But I think if you're looking after your clients properly and you're looking after your team properly, like everything just sort of, not everything, because can't be that easy, obviously, but I think if you're doing them two things like well, usually that is a recipe for success.
100%. 100%. Couldn't agree more. I think it's so important that that is clear as standard, I think is the best takeaway that I can draw from what you just said, in that it isn't a benefit to be able to offer things that people should just set as their standards for ensuring go to the next level for any kind of walk of life. I think is a great kind of way to push things forward.
Yeah, agreed. What's the future hold for you, do you think, Sam, within BigCommerce? Like, let's look at 2024. Do you know what the big plans are for yourself? Are you looking to grow an area? Is it sort of a bigger sort of role? What's your sort of hopes and plans?
Yeah, I mean, I see myself at the company and being successful there for as long as possible, as long as they'll have me. It's always good. And I think that the exciting thing for me is that going into the new year, I'm spending a lot more time from that European focus and being able to lean into that a lot more, and working with my UK partners who I love working with, are successful and support with, but also using kind of the learnings that I've seen from them and applying them into the Benelux region, applying them into the Nordic region, but also vice versa as well. And using all three regions as learnings for various ways that all of the partners work, because I think there's always ever so slight intricacies between all of it and across Europe as well. And I think there are so many things that everyone can learn off each other to be super, super successful. Which is the key thing for me to develop in 2024 and continue building. We've had some real great success this year with all of those partners, and I think if I can look back at the end of 2024 and say that all of those partners that I'm working with are as successful, if not more successful next year, then I'll be a very happy person, and I'll feel like I've helped them out as little as I can, kind of, in terms of I'm a small part of a much wider, bigger beast for them. But if I feel like I can contribute to those kinds of people, I'll be very happy and moving forward.
Incredible. Sam, thank you so much, mate. I was going to ask you, can you name like some of your preferred partners, but I don't want to put you on the spot and you have to name out a few, because that might put you in a hot spot, so let's not do that.
Angry text messages and audios. It's like a Oscar acceptance or something when somebody misses out their mum. Definitely. But if you are interested, and anyone's interested, we have a huge directory of our partner network on our website that gives you all of the list of the partners, the preferred partners, the elite partners across the globe that you can find in a little bit more detail. That is always good, and that means that I don't miss anyone and get in trouble.
Legend. Sam, thank you so much, mate. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, like BigCommerce is an amazing platform, and I just say, like, if merchants or if agencies need to know more, then Sam's your man to reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, email, phone number, everything's on there in openness. So get in touch whenever you want.
Legend. Mate, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Luke. Much appreciated.
Pleasure, man. Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.